Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It's Tuesday Thoughts on Soccer down here. John, hear you there. And we got news of the morning to get through in hour number one. Stacked hour number two, and it's in the USL framework. Darin Van Tassell, Grand Exalted Poobah at South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us at 10 o'clock. Kaylor Hodges and the Band of Renown to the USL show are going to be dropping by at 10:30 because of what we were discussing when the show went off the air yesterday. It was confirmed. Schedule did come out. RGV is no longer with us. They're staying at 24 teams, but it was Memphis that moved over. Morning, Abby. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Tom. So Memphis 901 moves over to the west, not FC Tulsa. Memphis 901. I find that interesting. So still at 24. RGV Toro's gone after 8 seasons, and we'll catch up with Kaylor Hodges and get his thoughts about the schedule, the movement of Memphis, the passing of RGV and the Toros in USL Championship, and any other things going on in USL Championship and or League One that he wants to talk about. So Darin Van Tassell kicks off hour number 2 with what's going on at Tormenta. There's a lot going on at Tormenta, by the way. It's a unified team has been unveiled. Obviously, we're going to get into Open Cup a little bit and find out what he thinks about that. And then once again, schedule release, all these kinds of things that we're going to be getting into. Pablo Jara, and we're tracking down Pablo as well for a 1v1. But Pablo Jara now is in Richmond. So a lot of stuff to get in the discussion with Darin about in hour number 2. Kaylor Hodges kicking it off at 10:30 as well. So Darin Van Tassell, 10 o'clock. Kaylor Hodges at 10:30. So busy morning across the board where we got stuff to talk about. Morning, Michael. And, I don't know if Michael is on the golf course or if he is warm. So I don't know where Michael is to kick things off this morning. But thanks to everybody for hanging out, as always, on Tuesday. Opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch or on our YouTube channel or on the 280-character app. Yeah, it is. It was like 28 this morning, Abby, when we all woke up this morning. Yes, it is chilly at home. So Michael is indoors. Very, very smart. So that's your QR code for those of you who are watching. Once again, thanks to everybody who kicks off their day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off of your purchase. Thanks to everyone who has so far. And they will in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and KickoffCoffeeCO.com. All right. I got a question for you. It's Tuesday and we're 6 days away. Where are you in your Christmas shopping? Reason that this triggered this morning as a part of an elongated opening kickoff is me and my friends, we always try to out obscure each other when it comes to our gifts. And I'm the kind of guy that if I see something in March that will apply for, Festivus, I'm going to get it then. That's just how it rolls. Where are you in your shopping? Are you done? Have you shipped? Are the cards out the door? Are you prepared for the onslaught of the next 6 days? That's my biggest question right now. I think I'm done. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm done. I mean, I've got to get like knickknacks and things for folks for work and everything like that. But I think I'm done. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a storage space, otherwise known as the unused bathroom down here in the office, where no one is allowed because that's where I store everything. And that's where I keep track of everything. So I think I've got everything. I'm not sure. There's like one or two knick-knacky things that I've got to do because tomorrow is National Signing Day, and I ought to be able to navigate that, and we should be in decent shape. But I think I'm on the downside of the shopping. So I wanted to find out where you are in your shopping and shipping and cards and all that stuff. Are you done? Are you done? I think I am. And that's rare. It's 6 days out, and we lose that one day of Sunday because, nothing ships or anything like that unless you want to do something with like FedEx or something and pray that you can get it overnight and it gets there Christmas Day or whatever. But I think I'm done. So as a public service, that was why I wanted to ask this morning to kind of sit here and gauge where I am versus where y'all are and see if I'm on the right track. So Michael says it's too cold for golf this morning. And Abby, who's on the coast of North Carolina, agrees. Michael is enjoying a cup of kickoff coffee. Say that 10 times fast. A cup of kickoff coffee. Abby. Yeah, Abby's done because she never has to do it. And she is now addressing New Year's card envelopes. Morning, Alex. Tom is behind this year. He says he's normally done by mid-December. This year got away from him. Still have some to do before you leave for Chucktown on Friday. Okay. That's part one. Part two of kickoff has to do with what's going on in the Premier League and the possible return, and I'll say it tongue-in-cheek, one of the most exciting brand coaches they've had in recent memory. Abby, Chucktown, Charleston. Charles. Michael says about with COVID made it an Amazon Christmas, but I try to make it an Amazon Christmas anyway. On the flip side of signing day, especially. If I've forgotten something, Amazon becomes my best friend, but I'm right there with you. It appears Steve Cooper is loved at Nottingham Forest. And we will have MLS coaching. We will have MLS coaching news on the other side of this outside of opening kickoff. Steve Cooper is still in charge at Nottingham Forest. Fans love him. Players love him. Owner Evangelinas Marinakis, not so much. And it looks like Steve will be in charge this weekend against Bournemouth. And this might be it. If the result does not go the way that Evangelinas Marinakis, the owner of Nottingham Forest, wishes, it might be it for Steve Cooper. So here's some of the names that it appears, according to our friends at TalkSport. Evangelinas Marinakis has decided a change is needed. And there are a couple of names that are out there. Julian Lopetegui has been out there. And it also appears that there were another couple of names that were out there. But the name that seems to be sticking the most right now, Nuno Espirito Santo. You may as well just get Sam Allardyce at this point. I'm sure that Sam sent in his resume. Nuno is apparently the leader in the clubhouse for the survival of Nottingham Forest. Now, if you want someone who is about 180 degrees from the talent pool that Steve Cooper has been able to assemble, and Abby, if we end up with a draft today, schedules tomorrow in Major League Soccer, we will discuss that on tomorrow's show and on Thursday. But it appears one of the most exciting, #sarcasm font, coaches could be back after he was fired from Al Ittihad in the league that we don't promote or talk about. So Nuno was there. Now he's not. Now he's the favorite, apparently, for Nottingham Forest and Evangelinas Marinakis. And that means to me that they just want to survive. It's like if their goal is draws with that talent pool, with what Nuno wants them to do, it's going to be such a square peg, round hole situation that Nuno right now is the favorite. We need to get Nottingham Forest fan Poppy Miller on the show to discuss this. Held talks with Marinakis, being lined up for a return. Cooper's under pressure, 3 wins, 1-1. in their last 13. Say that 10 times fast. 6-game winless run after losing to Spurs. Popular figure in the dressing room. Club chiefs have made a decision over his future with Nuno in the frame. Already held talks with the club. So Nuno was at Al Ittihad. They brought in Benzema and N'Golo Kante, Fabinho, and Jota. And just months in, Al Ittihad relieved him of his duty. Had a bust-up with Benzema, and we know who's going to win that one. Exchanging insults in the dressing room following a defeat. The 1-8 favorite to be the new Forest boss. 1-8. Morning, Harry. We're going to be talking USL in hour number 2. So, yikes. Okay. Nottingham Forest, they're just trying to survive, I guess. But, yeah, with Nuno's style and the players on hand, it's going to be a bunch of goalless draws and 1-0s and 1-1s all the way from now till the end of time. And then I wonder what Marinakis wants to do in the January window to see who they want to add and roll from there. So that was intriguing. So, yeah, Nuno Espirito Santo might be back in the Premier League at Nottingham Forest. God help you, Forest fans, one and all. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Michael Valverde is enjoying some this morning, and you should too. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on the YouTubes, on the Twitch, and on the 280-character app. Once again, you use that QR code. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game and youth initiatives that they have earmarked. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, I promised we were going to be talking about stuff in Major League Soccer. And it appears, courtesy of our friends at the Blazing Musket, that they may have their man in New England. And it appears it's Caleb Porter from the Musket yesterday. Caleb Porter is finalizing a deal to become the next head coach of the Revs, according to The Athletic. And we'll circle back to their story in a bit. Seth McComber, first to report Porter was the front runner. Remember, he was with Crew. 45, 43, and 37. Winning the 2020 MLS Cup. Most successful stint came with the Portland Timbers. Following sentence, by the way, from Sam Minton. Most successful stint came with the Portland Timbers. He was named Coach of the Year in 2013, his first season in charge, and won 2015 MLS Cup. If named head coach, once again, this is from Minter at the Blazing Musket. If named head coach, Porter's challenge will be to do what hasn't been done in New England, add an MLS Cup to the club's trophy cabinet. Considering he's done so at every stop in his coaching career, Revolution fans should be excited, even if it seems like a safe option. Safe in quotation marks. So, Caleb Porter, everybody. Welcome back. Possibly, probably, maybe. Bogert and Tenorio. 5 seasons in Portland, 2013 to 17, MLS Cup 2015. New England considered several MLS experienced candidates. Morning forecard. Including Gia Savarese, Bob Bradley, Dom Kinnear, and Robin Frazier. Porter was at Akron, won 19, 18, and 17. Produced professionals like Driver, Darin Maddox, Will Trapp, and many more. Head coach of the U23 side that failed to qualify for the 2012 London Olympics. Kurt Analfo, named Revolution sporting director and led the coaching search. The Revs roster is strong, according to Tenorio and Tommy Scoops. Led by Carlos Heel, club triggered the purchase option for winger Tomas Shankalai this offseason, one of the easiest decisions you should have made. And keeping the Argentine at the club as a DP, Dylan Barrero expected to return from injury early in the year. Backline is set. Romney, Farrell, Kessler, DeJuan Jones, Brandon by Nick Lima, who the Revs acquired in a trade with Austin FC. So, Kurt Analfo decides what he is going to do. We have not, leagues, good morning. We're going to be doing that. We did that when it came out earlier this week, but we're going to have Darin Van Tassell from South Georgia Tormenta on at 10 to discuss even further. And Kaylor Hodges from the USL show at 10:30 to discuss as well. Ricky, MLS has a lot of retreads for being less than 30 years old. Morning 4 card. So, yes, to your point, Ricky. Now, our friends at The Athletic, let's look at this list. Gio Savarese, who apparently has also interviewed for the Montreal job. We'll get into the Montreal job coming up in a bit. Gio Savarese, Bob Bradley, Dom Kinnear, Robin Fraser. Robin Fraser might have been an interesting look. Dominic Kinnear has been an assistant for quite some time after a run as a head coach in Major League Soccer. But I wanted to look this up. Dominic Kinnear is an American soccer coach and former player. So he has been, all right, so here's Dominic Kinnear's managerial career. Assistant in San Jose after he retired from the Tampa Bay Mutiny in 2000. 01 to 03, he was an assistant. Head coach in San Jose 05, 04 and 05. Head coach for the Houston Dynamo 05 to 14. Head coach in San Jose again 14 to 17. He's been an interim on 2 tours in 18 and 20. He was with the LA Galaxy from 2017 to 2020. He was an assistant, twice an interim. Then he was an assistant at FC Cincinnati. So he has not been a full-time head coach since 2017, when he was a 13-year head coach in Major League Soccer. But they decided to chase after Dominic Kinnear as a part of this discussion. New England, now, Gio Savarese, you pretty much, and like I said, I would anticipate in these situations that Gio Savarese probably would want more control when it came to player personnel decisions, etc., than possibly Kurt Analfo would want to surrender. I get the impression that as sporting director, Kurt, while in a collaborative environment, probably would be the one making the final decision. You know that would not fly for Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley would want control of the personnel decisions and be head coach. With Kurt Analfo as sporting director, that first element out the door. There's no way that Bob Bradley would come back if he was just going to be coach, unless he has decided in his career that, yeah, okay, I'm just going to do what's in front of me and what have you. I don't think that's Bob Bradley. Like I said, Robin Fraser would have been an interesting look. Dom Kinnear has not been a head coach full-time in 6 seasons, and it will be 7 by the time he would have taken charge. We know what happened with Bob Bradley at Toronto FC. Gio Savarese, I think Gio would have wanted the same amount of control or the same idea of control that Bob Bradley would have wanted. But once again, you've got a sporting director in place in Kurt Analfo. So I would anticipate that Caleb, if he is to become the head coach of the New England Revolution, he's going to have input, but the final say would end up being more Analfo if it came down to a decision that had to be made. So I think it's fairly safe to say that this is a safe pick when it comes to the New England Revolution, if in fact this is going to come to pass. Because at the end of the day, it's all about this.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the time, guys. Brian, just to start with you, you said about 20 minutes ago, quote, as everyone can imagine, this is a difficult time for Richie. What do you mean when you say this is a difficult time for Richie? And to Kurt, do you feel when this all passes, you would like to tell your side of the story here?
I mean, in terms of Richie, there's just been a lot written about Richie, um, and so when you're being talked about publicly, that's always a difficult situation. For people who are in this building, they're in this sport because they love the sport. They love being around the guys. They love coaching. They love the fans. They love doing just what their job is. And when they have to answer questions or be in the media or being talked about for other reasons, I think that's just always stressful and difficult for anyone. And so, I think that's really what I'm talking about when I say it's been a difficult time for Richie.
And to answer your question, I was asked, first of all, I didn't ask to be in this position. I was put in this position. And I embrace it. The Crafts and Brian have asked me to lead this organization through a very, very difficult time. And I have enormous experience. I'm extremely confident. I love the people in this building. I love the owners. I love our staff. And my side of the story is to make a very difficult situation into a great one. And we have that opportunity. So that's what we're thriving on, is can we, through all this noise and the stuff that none of us asked for this, but to drive forward and to make something out of it. And that's the message that we're telling our players. And they are an incredible group of human beings. And I just tell you, watch out, because they are united, as we are as a staff and an organization, and from ownership all the way through. And it's time to get out there and play and stop talking about all the baloney. It is noise, right? We're going to focus on winning.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
So they're going to focus on winning, non sequitur, involving baloney. So Kurt is trying to get past the baloney, and you're going to do that with Caleb Porter, apparently, possibly, probably sooner rather than later. And by the way, if you forgot, Bruce Arena has been reinstated by Major League Soccer, and we still don't know what happened. We still don't know what happened with Bruce Arena. So Caleb Porter apparently is going to be part of the group that is going to take care of all the baloney in New England. So we'll keep an eye on that. Other coaching news in Montreal. Now, we'd mentioned that Gio Savarese has apparently interviewed for the gig, and there are a couple of others that have interviewed for the gig, including Laurent Courtois, the manager of Columbus Crew 2 out of MLS Next Pro. So Gio is up for it. And remember that Gio was head coach for almost 6 years, made the playoffs 4 out of 5, including 2 finals. Pamadou Ka also has interviewed right now. He's an assistant in Charlotte. He's interviewed for the head coaching vacancy. Long time, a well-respected assistant. Charlotte, Cincinnati, Vancouver. He was the head coach at North Texas SC, former Norway international, former Pacific FC head coach. So he knows the Canadian landscape, head coach in the CPL, and he's interviewed. So it's Pamadou Ka, it is Gio Savarese, and Laurent Courtois. So we'll keep an eye on what it looks like in Montreal. But the larger question with those individuals is, frankly, do you want to put up with Joey Saputo's ish? Because at some point, Joey Saputo is going to come storming down from the owner's box at Stade Saputo. There's nothing more first person, or is it third person? There's nothing more third person than having the stadium named after you. But at some point, you're going into this and you're going to be butting heads with Joey Saputo. Who wants that kind of smoke? I think Gio Savarese could handle it without question, because Gio is not going to take any guff from anybody. And he's not going to take any guff. He's not going to take any ish. And the second that goes down, that there's going to be some elevated voices in a hallway or in a closed-door meeting. Laurent Courtois, track record. Mamadou Ka, well thought of assistant. Head coach in the CPL. Once again, if you want to try to recruit locally to help out how you would be at CF Montreal, then you've got these options. Gio Savarese. So Savarese, Ka, Courtois. Those are the three names that we see right now attached to the gig in Montreal. But once again, end of the day, you want that gig. It's about dealing with Joey Saputo. What is Joey willing to invest? What is Joey willing to bring in from his other franchises and kind of work things sideways? How does this work? Then you may ask yourself, how do I work this? So 3 names right now attached to what's going on in Montreal. So we'll keep an eye on that. See how long it takes for them to come up with the possibility of a new head coach. We do have another couple of pieces of news. Once again, reminder: the MLS Super Draft is later this afternoon. Atlanta United with 4 picks in the first 78. 3 o'clock. And now what you can do, and this is something to keep an eye on, the eligible player pool has expanded. You can now draft sophomores and above. And you can hang on to them. So if you see teams looking at underclassmen to hang on to them, that might be part of this process as well. Generation Adidas announced their class. Stephen Anorjamfi from Virginia, the freshman from Ghana. Kamani Stewart-Baines from Maryland also. So you've got those two. You've got a handful of pre-signed seniors. Logan Farrington from Oregon State. Tyree Spicer from Lipscomb. Now, we mentioned the draft field. Here's what to look for today in the draft starting at 3. Absolutely, Tom. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here? I think that's a question that folks ask in Montreal a lot of the time because, as we all know, same as it ever was. Expanded Super Draft field. Let's get into this for a second. I know we're bouncing around between news here and news overseas, and we'll get into that coming up in a bit because we do have FA Cup to look at, what to watch for, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we spend hour number 2 talking about life in the USL. List of players eligible for selection in the Super Draft now may include collegiate sophomores and juniors in addition to previously draft-eligible groups, including Generation Adidas. Clubs may draft players from a list of eligible players, which may include, once again, sophomores and above, GA, any former college player who departed college with remaining eligibility since the conclusion of the college season approximately 1 year prior to the Super Draft, meaning since the end of the 22 college season, to compete as a professional in a league domestically, and then any other players specifically made available by the league, such as pre-signed college seniors or pre-signed internationals. At number 3, in addition to the underclassmen, very, very interesting, former college players who departed college with remaining eligibility since the conclusion of the college season approximately 1 year prior to the Super Draft in order to compete as a professional. So if they duck out and then they duck back in, you can pick them too. Morning, Jared.
Morning, John.
So we were going over a couple of different things. Opening kickoff being, it looks like everyone's favorite offensive coach, and you can take that word however you wish, might be in line at Nottingham Forest. Nuno, it looks like he's the 1-8 favorite to take over for Steve Cooper.
I thought the most offensive coach was Michael Beale getting another job.
Yeah, that too.
After he snaked his way into the Rangers job, completely botched it, got fired, and just snaked his way into another Premier League or Champions job.
Yes, so that's right there as one of our league contenders. And we also we've been talking about Caleb Porter to New England, where he gets to hang out with the baloney. Possibly, probably.
Okay. I mean, yeah, look, the Caleb Porter experience in the last 2 places you can condense down to good, bad, alternating years. Hey, one of
So
those
he's the
years
Brett Saberhagen of coaches, is what you're saying.
you might catch fire one of those years, and you might make a run in the playoffs, and you might win a cup if he has two of those. He's also gotten like almost cripplingly pragmatic as
Yes.
his career has gone along.
Yep.
Don't know how much you trust that, especially depending on how you want to build that team in New England. We'll see what Curtin Alpha wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's always seems to have gone like good, bad, alternating. We'll see. Hey, man, like you're gonna roll into some Champions League games though, because don't forget, because of the expanded slate, now you have Champions League games for New England coming up, and which is very funny to think about. That like, as much as we made fun of the New England Revolution last year because of like all the chaos and hey, shooter wherever you are, and it was weird and chaotic. They were still damn good for large chunks of the year. And they earned a spot in Champions League, and they have to. So they're like still picking up the pieces from all of that chaos with Bruce.
Yeah.
But they can't like wait forever to pick them up because they have Champions League. It's like, oh man, this was a disaster. This was chaotic. This was a mess. This was a drunken festival of debauchery. And oh look, we have Champions League. Because we were good enough in the league. Like, despite all of that, like the tornado hovered above the house and ripped up the chicken coop and left chicken guts everywhere. But also, the house was still in pretty decent shape.
Mm-hmm. So we have Caleb Porter, who has turned somewhat pragmatic, and we mean that in the negative sense, with the talent that's there. So you have this offensive talent in Heel and Shonkalai and everybody else moving forward, and you bring in Caleb Porter.
Yep. I mean, hey, like, Caleb Porter knows the league. It fits that trend they had. Like, they went and got Bruce. I mean, Caleb is not Bruce. I don't know if he's that same kind of crotchety old man personality.
He's just
again, one of my favorite memories in my life is asking Bruce Arena after he lost to Frank DeBoer for the second time in 2 weeks if Frank did anything different, and just the absolute disdain in Bruce's voice to like, nope, didn't do a damn thing differently, and we still lost. Because like, I mean, that keep in mind that was during Bruce's first year in New England, and he was like, if you remember, man, like that's 2019. Go back to 17 when Jay Heaps was there. Like they were a broken team. They did Brad Friedel, that didn't work. Like they were a mess. Bruce really had to like pick up pieces and put them back together. We talk about it in college football about like the year zero thing, the year one thing of like for instance when Brent Key took over for Jeff.
Oh, he hit a button. You know, he starts to talk about Brent Key, and then he gets dumped.
But it's like the year zero thing, like where, okay, well, we have to clean up all of this crap, so it's going to take us a year. Like, it took Bruce a little bit of time to put all the pieces together and to try and rebuild the Fabergé egg.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Caleb Porter would have more pieces to work with. It's in better shape now than it was when Bruce was taking it over. But he's going to play safe. He's going to play pragmatic. He'll sit in the middle of the table most likely. You might have some years where you overachieve. You might have some years where you underachieve. Hopefully, for a guy as pragmatic as Caleb, hopefully he's learned how to see games out by this point.
Yeah, well, I'm saying about that.
I mean, well, to be fair, hey, that problem followed Cincinnati through into Wilfred Nancy's tenure. They did not spit the bit in the cup, obviously, because they lifted silverware.
Columbus,
sorry. I'm going to get stabbed. Oh, my God. This stabbing is going to hurt, and it's going to be well-deserved. But, yeah, man, it's like that still follows Columbus to this day. That, like, remember, they struggled to see games out. Them winning the cup required them to see out a game against LAFC, and they did it pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty comfortably. But that's been a problem for a couple of years now with Columbus, that they struggle to see games out. They don't have the defensive depth to do it, or the guys to lock that ish down. Can he do it in New England? We'll see. We know that he can play in weird conditions, and it's going to be like you're going to have those cold, rainy, miserable nights in
With
Gillette
football
Stadium where
lines
there's
on the field.
a couple hundred people sitting there watching you. Just football it up, buddy.
And then
Anyway.
and then Montreal. It appears Gio Savarese has had discussions. Pamadou Ka is a part of it, and Laurent Courtois from Crew 2 is a part of it.
I like that because Crew 2, I don't know if y'all got to watch. Crew 2 is fun. They were really good. They're a year removed from winning MLS Next Pro Cup with Coleman Gannon on roster. Atlanta United 2 legends.
Marco Micheletto, Tormenta legend.
But Savarese would be interesting. The problem I have with Savarese is not even with Savarese.
I wonder where Jared is. He's fighting it. I think Joey Saputo has jammed the power lines, so Jarrett can't discuss Gio Savarese and CF Montreal. But no, that's when Jarrett. There, did you change your cell finally? Apparently not. He's fighting it hard this morning. Joey Saputo is jamming our signal. I know how this works. Joey Saputo is jamming our signal. I think Jared is in some troublesome low spot in East Cobb as he is trying to figure out what's going on. Are you there? Okay. So I summon him and I summon Jarrett, and Jarrett is lost to us. He's lost to humanity. But no, it's we'll pick Jarrett's point back up with CF Montreal here. We'll see if his cell has improved. Has your cell improved?
I don't know, man. Blame Woodstock. It sucks.
Okay, so
everyone likes to pretend that Woodstock is now Metro Atlanta. They still have a lot of ways to go before everything is connected correctly in this place.
Yes.
Redacted. Anyway, I lost the cell signal because I slandered Joey Saputo because my problem isn't with Gio Savarese, it's with Joey Saputo.
Correct.
Like Joey is the question mark here. Because again, Joey Saputo out here like sabotaging relationships with Wilfred Nancy. If you bring in Gio, are you going to give Gio the time and resources to build what he wants? Because if you don't, and it turns into a street fight, I'm taking Gio with a street fight.
Absolutely, I am. I am absolutely doing that. I am so taking Gio in a street fight over Joey Saputo, but that is the larger element in all of this. Taking the tour before Darin joins us in about 15 minutes. Darin Van Tassell hanging out with us. Here's the traffic. Once again, Darin Van Tassell talking Tormenta and USL, League One, and Open Cup and all that stuff. Then at 10:30, Kaylor Hodges and the band of renown known as the USL show at 10:30 to discuss RGV, schedules out, Memphis moves, and not FC Tulsa. I thought it would be Tulsa, but it was Memphis moving from east to west.
Yeah, we got to have a conversation with basically the sports world at large that doesn't know how geography works.
Yeah.
But also doesn't know how the state of Tennessee works. Everyone seems to, I guess, think when they're making schedules that the state of Tennessee is just, it is a long state. It is shaped like a pancake.
True.
But we do this thing where like, well, Memphis is in West Tennessee. Clearly that's in the Mountain Time Zone. Bro, it's not. We do this thing where like we got to put the Tennessee teams out west. Why? Because they're in the Central Time Zone.
Mm-hmm.
The hell, man.
Jesus. Yeah. So it's 12 and 12. Memphis slides over to the west. FC Tulsa stays in the east, which to me was weird. And then so Rhode Island assumes the Memphis. Yeah.
I can't, man. Like, I can't deal with it. Like, you put a team out west that is further east than the team you kept east. This is like, y'all learned not a damn thing from the years of from my formative years of having to watch the damn Falcons and Saints play in the NFC damn West.
And the Braves playing in the National League West.
The fact that the Braves ever won a Western Division crown is a minor miracle when you consider the fact that their division games were traveling across the country because somebody didn't own a map.
Correct.
Thanks again, Faye.
Exactly.
Big
Michael
Kennesaw Mountain
brings up the
Landis
point.
slander into his face just out of spite.
There you go. One thing that we didn't get to bring up yesterday that Michael Head's bringing up this morning. Lionel Messi and Newell's Old Boys getting together at DRV P&K as a part of their preseason tour of the planet. This one's going to be a home game, 15th of February. Messi and Newell's Old Boys. We knew that.
They are going to milk Miami for every drop that they can until they are pulling blood out. And then they probably won't even stop them. If anybody's going to have an argument for like expanding rosters and spending, which we know they're not doing this year, great job MLS. Good job, good effort, you dinguses. It's the fact that Miami is literally playing all over the damn planet in 2024.
Yeah.
Those dudes at some point are going to be gassed beyond recognition. And when we look at it like, oh, it's because they played everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they announced the preseason friendly with Newell's. I mean, yes, that's a home game. But remember that their tour, it starts in, what was it, El Salvador, I think? And then they go to Saudi Arabia for the Riyadh Season Cup to play Al Hilal and Al Nasser. And this was after they denied that they were in it. It's like the tournament announces they're in it. Inter Miami's like, no, we're not. Well, yeah, we are. So I guess they wanted to control the idea.
One of two things happened there. Either they were trying to keep the news concealed and just decided to lie to everybody because they wanted to break it themselves, or they went, we're not doing that. Hey, that's a good idea. We should do that. One of two things happened.
Yeah.
Either they lied to everybody or went, hey, that's not a bad idea.
Yes. So you end up with this preseason friendly against Newell's, and that's going to be on the 15th of February. And you end up with, let's see, so they're visiting Tokyo to face Vissel Kobe on February 7. So let's backtrack this trip a little bit. All right, so let's work this out. So you've got the Rich Fields insert conspiracy theory since Messi playing Newell's was always supposed to be his testimonial match. So on February 15th, they have a home game against Newell's Old Boys. February 7, they play Vissel Kobe in Tokyo at Japan National Stadium. So that's after Riyadh. You're going Inter Miami, Riyadh to Hong Kong and Tokyo, in addition to kicking things off. The El Salvadoran national team on January 19. All right, so let's go start here. El Salvadoran national team January 19th in El Salvador. Then you got the two matches in the Riyadh Season Cup in Saudi Arabia. A match on January 29 and February 1. So you give yourself 10 days to get acclimated. I guess you fly home to Miami after this. So you get out of El Salvador, you go back to Miami. Then you're home for a couple days. Change the clothes out in your suitcase. Then you go to the Riyadh Season Cup in Saudi Arabia, January 29 against Al Hilal, February 1st against Al Nasser. Okay, cool. But you don't come home. You go to Hong Kong, and I didn't know that Hong Kong actually had a national team, but apparently Hong Kong has a national team. So you play in Saudi Arabia. Then you fly to Hong Kong to take on the Hong Kong national team on the 4th. And then you finally do come home for this match after Vissel Kobe, February 7. Then you come home after that. So it's El Salvador, Saudi Arabia twice, 3 days later in Hong Kong, 3 days later in Tokyo, and then a week later you're playing at home against Newell's Old Boys. I mean, good on Inter Miami. Thanks, Abby, for dropping by. First off, all I can say is if I'm Benjamin Kromoski, I just hope I'm getting the miles and the points in my frequent flyer package. But knowing them, they're probably flying charter.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be flying charter. I mean, they'll be taken care of as much as possible because you have to maintain, you have to maintain their existence. You have to maintain their survival to also play during the season. It's going to be a grind.
Oh.
Like this is going to be a grind for Miami, and we'll see how they deal with it. I mean, they don't have to do Open Cup this year because I don't know. MLS is again. We dropped the bear trap, and decided to let them step in it.
Mm-hmm. And yes, this is a barnstorming tour. Tom is absolutely correct. And Rich, absolutely 100% no guarantee Messi's playing in all those games. What they probably will do, Rich, is they will parade Messi and figure out. It's like, hey, here's Lionel Messi, and he's walking into stadiums and he's waving and doing all that kind of stuff. And he'll do the toe touchies and the kickabouts, and then he might do a 10-minute cameo. Tom is requesting, if it is a barnstorming tour, that I should discuss the schedule in old-timey radio voice.
News from the front. We check in now with Inter Miami, who has found their way out west, and the boys from the south side are making their way out to a wonderful visit from the boys down in Argentina. We'll check in now with our correspondent on the field and check in with our boys across the lines, and we'll check in at the front when we get back.
That, exactly. I think that probably when we discuss, starting January 19th, a month from now, anytime that on this barnstorming tour that we drop a discussion point about Inter Miami, that we have to do it in that barnstormy, old-timey radio voice. I think that that's probably how we should address this barnstorming tour starting a month from now.
Young Argentines showing up to play and perform for young Lionel Messi, who's not so young anymore, as he continues his great career. We need to have the music in the background. We need to have like the light horn music playing as we go through this process. But, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We need to.
Leo Messi takes his place on the field. The young players around him, as they look up to their veteran, they look up to their old manager as well, looking to get the year under a strong start. Go get them, boys. We're with you all the way.
Yes, the 1940 newsreel.
And then we close it out and kick into an episode of Bugs Bunny before the feature film.
Oh, my God. Absolutely. And then it's got to be, let's all go to the lobby,
Do not seek the treasure.
Exactly.
Yeah, 30s, but whatever.
Yes, CONCACAF announced the dates and times for the round of 16 matches and everything. So round 1 is February 6 through 8, 13 through 15, 20 through 22, and 27 through 29. Then round of 16, March 5 through 7 and 12 through 14 are your second legs. Quarters, first 2 weeks in April. Semifinals, tail end of April, early May. And the final for the Triple C is on June the 2nd. Once again, it's a single leg tournament. It's a single leg final. And you end up with 27 clubs this time. 27 clubs that are going to be having all kinds of fun. Round 1 results. Union and Saprissa, Toluca Herediano, Club America, Real Esteli, Chivas and Forge. That's going to be a fun one. Chivas going to Hamilton, Ontario in round 1. That's going to be great. The Revs going to Independiente apparently is the longest trip that they've ever made. And it's the longest trip of round 1, going from New England to Panama. Dynamo in all caps, looking forward to that. Tigres, Vancouver, Orlando City Cavalry. And that one's going to be played in British Columbia, I believe. They changed the venue on that one from Alberta to British Columbia, I think. Monterrey, Comunicaciones, Cincinnati Cavalier, Nashville, and Mocha from the Dominican Republic. So, when we get closer to the matches in February, those rounds will catch up with our band of renown and catch up with folks and figure out what's going on there. Leagues World Cup Soccer Podcast. Thanks for coming on, guys, by the way. Thanks for dropping by. Yep, Jarrett is very, very good. With a history in radio, Jarrett knows about the old newsreely kind of things, and he knows how to break this down. But I think we do have a point for the barnstorming tour of our friends at Inter Miami, that they will have the barnstorming tour, the old 1940s newsreel voice attached to everything going on, and in their barnstorming tour. So we will definitely be keeping track of that. When we have guests, some of them believe truly in Tom Coughlin time. And for those of you of a certain vintage who do not know who Tom Coughlin is, Tom Coughlin was the former head coach of the New York Giants and of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Tom Coughlin, because of his military background and influence, he always would say, when it came to players coming to meetings, meeting was at 10 o'clock, you're late. If you show up at 10 o'clock for a 10 o'clock meeting, you're late. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. And at 10 o'clock, I shut the door. If you're not in by 10 o'clock and the meeting is supposed to start, even though you're late, I'm shutting the door and you can't get into the meeting. The rest of it's on you. So at 9:55/6, Darin Van Tassell has shown up. He is on Tom Coughlin time, by the way. And there's DVT hanging out with us from Statesboro, complete with a Christmas tree behind.
We're a very festive group here, John.
Wow.
Very, very festive. By the way, I was on it much earlier than 9:55. I had to listen to you and Jarrett. You had a show to broadcast, hearing all about the Messi tour. I'm so struck by how tired you think Inter Miami might be. Those plane flights you were describing were just bus rides from Statesboro to Richmond, Statesboro to Knoxville, Statesboro to when we do have games in Tampa and Miami. The guys will be fine. They're pro athletes.
Yes. And they will be laying down in the aisleways of these charter jets with their rollers and everything.
Very, very similar.
Oh,
very similar. I hope you're well, my friend.
Yeah, getting in opening kickoff, I asked folks where they were in their Christmas shopping. So where are you in your Christmas shopping, sir?
Well, the holiday is close. Nature and I are very fortunate to have the tree up. Very festive folks here. My boys don't get home, my two grown children, until December 28th. We're going to celebrate a little bit later, but listen, every year's Christmas around here.
So, all right, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. And the reason that I wanted to bring you on was because there's multiple topics here. Do you want to hit the hard stuff first, or do you want to work your way into it?
Listen, it doesn't matter to me. This is a great reminder for folks that are listeners. You only have avid soccer fans listen. I don't think pretend soccer fans listen to soccer down here.
Right.
The off seasons are far busier for ownership and management than regular seasons are. We're building rosters. We're having to part ways with some of the folks that are the legends for us. Those are hard things in pro sports. And then, we got new schedules, new players to announce. We have our own cup format. And then you get, really, really crazy news that kind of comes from the world of soccer. These are interesting times, Mr. Nelson.
Yeah, well, Mr. Nelson is my father. I'm just John. You know that. All right. So since you mentioned club legends, Pablo Jara now is in Richmond. He is a kicker. When I mention Pablo as a person, not as a player, what comes to mind for someone who is as ingrained in the legend of Tormenta as Pablo Jara is?
Pablo Jara is one of the finest people I've ever met, John. He's a dear friend. Nature and I have our own children. I can't call him a son, but we have that kind of relationship. We did not want Pablo to leave. I think that's a very important part to say. We certainly offered Pablo a contract, but when you're here as long as Pablo's been, you also earn the right to go explore some different experiences. And and we wanted to make Pablo completely comfortable that was the case, and both as an ownership group, Nutra and I, and Ian wanted Pablo to feel some comfort there. We have no doubt Pablo will be back with Tormenta. He's got a lifelong things to do at some time, but Richmond's going to be very eager to have him. Darin is going to do an amazing job with him. And I think Richmond is finding somebody in the locker room that will be a force multiplier for the franchise.
No doubt about it. And we're tracking Pablo down so we can get a 1v1 with him and find out what it's going to be like for him in this new chapter as well. You mentioned new chapters. Keziah Sterling is moving on to the next frontier, and you mentioned player movement in and out. Where do things stand with the ins and outs right now and having to replace another talisman?
I think, for our fans, it'll be very interesting. Normally, we only turn over about 30% of our roster. It was about 80% this year. I think the league average was almost 80%, in both between the League One and the Championship. You have the player pool's big, and so we're all sort of fishing in the same place. So we're still building a roster. You move fast. It's not a long off season. There may still well be some familiar faces that come back. Kaz will not be one of them, as much as we would like to have him back. So one of the such exciting parts here is also the part that hurts the soul a bit, and you get players in front office and some coaches who we will forever follow, and we'll see what's going on there. But listen, you don't have a good offseason without being excited about the guys that you're signing. I think we're up to a total of about 12 that we've signed, and we'll complete that roster here pretty quickly. One thing about the holidays, it'll be Christmas and New Year's, and then it'll be the second week of January, and then it'll be time to report.
You ain't kidding. When it comes to last season in one of the toughest leagues around, because I will maintain that when it comes to the talent pool and the level of competition, USL League One, it is knockdown, drag out. And I mean, you could have a good week and you could be second. You could have a bad week and you could be eighth. When it comes to the lessons of last year as an organization, what do you think they are, and what have you learned?
Well, you're right about the league, and I think up and down, whether it's the Championship, League One, and even League Two, this is a league that is certainly very forward thinking, spending a lot of time trying to get it right. Even when we stub our toes, it's not because we're not seeking to get that right. The play is going up and up and up. From Tormenta's standpoint, we've had 2 years in a row where we got off to a little bit of a slow start. Those are just results, things that we have to fix. I'm not so certain that we need to approach things differently. We have to ask ourselves those questions, but those are forever sports questions, aren't they? And nobody likes being out of the mix. And so when you finish 1 point out of the playoffs, and to that team that you finished 1 point out of also made it to the finals, and the team that wins the finals we beat twice. What a league. This is super fun, and what great champions we had in North Carolina FC, and they'll move up to the championship.
Pro-rel had actually happened in USL League One.
Well, we had self-promotion and relegation twice. But, those are, that's a subject that our league is working on hard to figure out. We've been pretty open about trying to work out those mechanics, trying to think about how can we get there. It's not simple. It's certainly not something you do overnight, but I think we have a leadership at our league and owners at our league that are constantly trying to find the ways to make ourselves even more and more relevant. And that's one of them. One of the things that we did in League One this year was to move to a balanced table, which reduced our number of regular season games down to 22. So we added our own League Cup, and we will get that started. It'll just be League One teams playing this year, but it's going to be great fun. We're going to experiment with some new rules and have some fun with that. One of the things that it allowed us to do was to add that World Cup style format in the cup competition, but to not necessarily put an additional strain on our players. So listen, this is fun. We're trying to get ourselves positioned for relevancy. We hope this will be the only year where we're just playing other League One teams, and that there will be others who will come and join us. In the meantime, we're going to make it a great competition and change, some of the format in our League Cup games, and hopefully there's some title sponsors that the league will get to announce soon. And here we go. Welcome to our off season, John.
Yeah, really. There is no off season. You mentioned the cup competition, non-traditional modifications. You mentioned the World Cup style format, 12-team league. You're in the East group with Richmond, Greenville, and Charlotte. The Central group is Chattanooga, One Knox, Lex, and Forward Madison. West group is Central Valley, Northern Colorado, Union, Omaha, and Spokane. And we'll get into.
We did our geography a little bit better than some other leagues might have.
Yeah, we got into that in hour number one. We'll get into that with Kaler coming up bottom of the hour. Emphasis on goals. Goals scored will be the first tiebreaker.
Yeah, how about that? That's a whole different approach. Ask us after a year, how did it work? I'm kind of intrigued by it. We've given it a lot of thought. It may well lend itself to some different ways of doing it, but we're gonna take it out for a test drive.
Yeah, not goal difference, but goals scored. So the first tiebreaker to determine one of the four spots in the knockout. 3 group winners advance. 4th playoff spot goes to non-group most goals scored. Matches that finish tied at the end of regulation go straight to PKs. Thankfully, you don't have to play an extra 30 minutes or anything like that. You go straight to PKs. Shootout winner gets an extra point. Shootout losers still get a point for the draw, but much like the National Hockey League, you get that extra point for being a winner in the shootout. Group play, 8 matches, 4 home and away. So that gives you 22 and 8 gives you 30. And then you play twice against every other club in the group 2 matches and so forth. So it sounds like you're looking pretty forward to seeing how this League Cup will work when you kick the tires on it this season.
We spent a lot of time on this as our ownership group did in the league and our leadership did in the league. It was not thought about lightly. I'm sure we'll add some modifications to it along the way, but we have 30 games, whereas last year we had 32, but we also have a chance for more playoff games. Made an attempt to keep that, firmly on our radar. And it also opened up a little window if folks want to engage in some domestic friendlies or some international friendlies that I think is important in our league too. And listen, it's a fun time to think about the best way to put things together. We're not the only ones experimenting. When Major League Baseball shows up with the pitch clock and runners on second base and extra innings, and the NBA's got their own in-season tournament. Clearly, fans are what we are about. Ours is a fan-driven league, and so here's our effort to really speak to those kinds of things.
Darin Van Tassell, co-owner and president of South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us here to break things down in USL League One, and especially with what's going on in Statesboro. I can't let you leave this entire interview without discussing what happened with the Open Cup decision and Major League Soccer. As of right now, it looks like it's only going to be the MLS Next Pro sides that are going to be competing from an MLS perspective. What has been the back and forth, what you can disclose and divulge from your conversations with other USL League One / USL types about this decision?
I think the league put out a really important statement, and I don't want to be coy and saying, well, I'll just refer to the statement. I think this is our national cup. It's our national tournament. It's 108 years old. It's about our fans. Our league is about the importance of local soccer, and we will certainly stay true to those sorts of things. I think our national cup is an honor to be a part of, and I think U.S. soccer has been dealt with some really tough decisions about how to respond, and so I will absolutely wait until for them to give a more detailed response. I don't think we were the only ones taken off guard by such a decision. Just living in the world of social media, I don't think fans are terribly excited about those sorts of things. But listen, again, not to be coy, we have tons of things to sort of take care of in our own league and our own house. Playing in the Open Cup and the tradition of the Open Cup is certainly a big part of all pro teams that play in the United States. It's part of our standards. And again, I think we'll sort of wait and see what U.S. Soccer has to say from a formal response.
Yeah, and I think at the same time also, it would not surprise me if Major League Soccer redressed their decision at some point, fairly soon, and worked on some roster expand. I know they initially said that they were discussing roster expansions and things like that to help alleviate that, but I think that at some point they may redress it and figure out, some kind of a solution here. But right now, that's where things stand. But I had to ask you about how things are with your thoughts on Open Cup.
No, I appreciate it. It was just 2022. We went on our own cup run. I know you got Kaylor coming on a little bit, where he and I first met in person was when Tormenta beat the Legion in Birmingham, and I know he's a big supporter there. So we'll give a little nod to him as he's coming on in a little bit. But there's a lot of magic about the tournament. I think anything that's 108 years old deserves our time, attention, effort, and energy. Our fans clearly like it. I think Tormenta Nation's fans are asking themselves some of the same questions that fans all over the U.S. are asking about such things. So let's see. I don't know. I'm not sure what U.S. Soccer's reaction is going to be.
Yeah. How's the stadium coming along?
We, in the past 3 weeks, have moved 235 truckloads of gravel. There's so many ways to measure progress. I've seen the receipts. So the parking lot and the street lights are going up. What a fun year 24 is going to be for certainly Tormenta, but I think fans interested in soccer at our scale, watching the steel come out of the ground and what we're putting together. I do think most folks probably don't have a great sense of just how nice our stadium feel is going to be, and the surprise that they're going to see is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see things develop where it's not just the stadium, but the environment around it and all of the investment that's being made by the university and by retail and all this kind of stuff. Like we've been talking about, one of the hallmarks of USL Championship League One franchises, it's the whole live, work, play environment.
Right.
And you're finally getting the chance to see that on the other side of the COVID year and losing that time to development and investment and so on.
There's lots of ways to measure this. We can measure it by the number of truckloads of gravel. We can measure by the Chick-fil-A that's now being built. That's part of this whole piece. The Publix that's open, the crumble cookies that are killing it, the Starbucks that's opening in just a few more weeks. So we've tried to build a stadium district. You and I have had a lot of off-camera conversations about it. This is not Battery Atlanta, but it's the same logic of that. It's a different scale, and it's a fun time to be a part of it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make sure we do it. I think when you're building something like this in our part of Georgia and Statesboro and University Town, Savannah's our backyard, and so that's clearly home for us too. You really have to make sure you get it right. It takes us maybe a little bit longer. While this project has incredible support from our state and university and city and county, this is being privately funded, and so that just takes a little more time.
Other thing that I wanted to discuss with you is something very, very cool that came across our desk, and it's the development of the Unified program. And I with the time that Jason Jarrett and Nick and I, all of us here at SDH, we've gotten the chance to see the Unified team for Atlanta United, and what that is a part of the developing fabric that you see there. Now that is going to be a part of something with Tormenta. Can you go into that a little bit for us and how the genesis of that idea came to pass?
I think some of the best ideas in our club are really driven by my business partner and roommate. Nitra really got out in front of this one. But it's also an initiative that's being pushed very hard by the USL, and it's such an easy one to get behind. Forward Madison, Union Omaha in League One. Colorado Springs has been a really big pusher in the championship of the USL, the unified teams. And that's where we have, athletes with intellectual disabilities, but also can pair with able-bodied athletes as, on the field, playing 11v11 soccer. It's going to be, from where we stand, John, an important part of our organization. We have an academy. We have a first team in USL, a first team in women's on the W League side. We have our boys and girls USL academy teams. We have a large academy that sits underneath that, plays everything from recreation to, in various state cups in both in South Carolina and Georgia. But we're not going to now have a unified team. And these are athletes who we're going to sign to contracts. They're going to wear the same jerseys as the first teams. And our plan is to really develop an intense home and away series with our rivals in Greenville, and to play a home and away match every year with the unified team, which they've recently announced. I think that format makes a lot of sense. We have really just borrowed from some terrific ideas that Omaha and Madison have done together. And the idea is to play a game after one of those home games with Greenville and Tormenta. It'll be part of every season ticket holder's package. And while the game won't be as long, we'll hold it right after the game at night. There's not a lot of things that everybody across all spectrums can get behind. This is one of those moments. It's going to be fun, exciting, exhilarating. And I think some of the best parts are going to be, all the lead up to the games, and the games will be, quite frankly, secondary. How much fun are they going to be? It's the right thing to do in sports, because sports lets us, grow our communities in the way some of the other things in our communities just don't.
The Peach States Derby unified style. I'm looking forward to that.
There we go.
So
we go. We may have to add that to the point calculation.
Oh, all right. So you're saying this right now, and Greenville just probably got put on blast. Somebody better tell the Irwins about it.
You'll get them on next.
I know. What is the next thing off the to-do list for 24 that you think you can cross off it?
Oh, wow. That's an important one. Today's my mother's birthday.
Oh, that's big.
So that's huge. And so there's a lot of my favorite people were born on December 19th or got married on December 19th. So I've got, there's a personal life I've got to do. But, listen, here's how the ownership works at Tormenta. In our field house is where the players' locker room is, on the training grounds. We're redoing things. Nitra's painting the ceilings and the walls. The last several days, that's just how we roll. There's work to be done. I have my John Nelson inspired hoodie on today. When folks listen to this without the Twitch, they're just not going to fully know how good you look every morning.
Oh, I'm stellar.
With those sorts of things. But it really is true. We've got a lot of players still to sign. Listen, we've got coaches scattered throughout not just the U.S., but in various continents this time of year, because our goal on the first teams, both men and women, is to win championships. And mine and Nitra's goal on the academy side is to create amazing experiences for our families that are a part of that, and then help produce players that can matriculate up to the first teams. We get to do both. And in order to win championships, we got to really provide a stable base for doing that. And right now, that involves building a lot of facilities.
And much like Hank Stram, you plan on matriculating right on down the field. Darin, as always, great, my friend, to have you on to give everybody the Tormenta update, because there's a lot of stuff going on in USL League One. Short period of time before early March and the season starts. DVT, it's always great to have you on. You've got golden ticket status, and you can crash it anytime.
Well, I love that golden ticket. I keep it right in my wallet. I'm a front pocket wallet guy. You and me both, brother. It just fits there better. And listen, I'm going to sign off and stay and listen to the rest of your guests. I'm a big fan of the USL show. I'm a faithful listener, and since you have him on today, listen, I'm already a faithful listener of yours. I get 2 for 1 this morning.
No doubt.
So you guys are gonna be in the background while I'm still getting some work done.
Yeah, while you and Nietzsche are painting, everything's going to be going on with
She
it.
paints. I'm not a good painter. I'm not good there.
I'm not either, brother. But we'll catch up soon, my friend. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, pal.
There we
Happy
go.
holidays. Cheers.
Back at you. It's DVT. Darin Van Tassel, Kaylor Hodges coming up in 10 minutes. And I don't know how many other USL shows, USL showites are going to be a part of this. It's an open door. I said, Kaylor, if it's you, everybody else, let it happen. So, however many of the USL showers are going to be coming up in 10 minutes, we will break all that down. We did have the coaching news that folks were letting us know about while we were breaking everything down. Officially official, Caleb Porter is now the head coach of New England Revolution. And since they came out with a press release, it is obviously officially official. Media assets include the downloading of Caleb Porter photos. Don't think we can do that because that wouldn't necessarily help for quick audio and video purposes. Let's see. 1, 2, 3 paragraphs of lead up before the quote from Kurt Analfo. Quote, Caleb Porter is a gifted and respected coach with more than 2 decades of coaching experience who has delivered MLS Cup championships to both of his previous clubs. Caleb has consistently demonstrated the leadership and tactical acumen. We talked about that in hour number 1. Needed to build a winning team in our league. We know he is the right person to lead our team, which we believe is already well positioned to compete for trophies. Another build-up paragraph, and then a quote from Caleb Porter. I'm honored to be named as the head coach of the Revolution. I'd like to start, and he thanks some folks. Thanks to Crass, Brian Bolello, Kurt Analfo. Throughout the interview process, it was clear the character, passion, and ambition that the people in this club possess, and I immediately felt connected and aligned with their strategy and values. The Revolution have a rich history, and I'm driven to build off that strong foundation and help the players add to the legacy with the club. Lastly, separate paragraph. I'm extremely motivated to reward the supporters for their undying loyalty over the past 27 years. I will work relentlessly to bring the first MLS Cup to this storied club and New England. So there was that one. And then thanks to Michael Head and others, David Ornstein, Paul Taylor et al., Steve Cooper officially sacked at Nottingham Forest. So much for that thought in hour number 1 that he was going to be there with Bournemouth. Made the decision to relieve Cooper of his duties after a run of 6 league without a win, 1 victory in their last 13. Formalities are now being completed, including informing staff with the official confirmation to come as soon as Tuesday afternoon. Barring a late change, it's going to be Nuno. Julian Lopetegui, Oliver Glasner, the Austrian who led Wolfsburg and Eintracht Frankfurt into the Champions League, were also considered. Nuno led Wolves to promotion from the championship before guiding them to a 7th-place finish, appointed to Spurs in June of 2021, lasted only 4 months. Steve Cooper took over at Forest in September of 21. Side bottom of the championship, secured a playoff spot to beat Sheffield United, Huddersfield Town to win promotion into the Premier League. Then from there, Evangelinas Marinakis grew impatient. I feel like that should be just like a, in official radio voice. And then Evangelinas Marinakis grew impatient. Yep, KFC, official, least likable club. So, Nuno, it looks like, is gonna be the man at Forest. So there you go. The two coaching positions we discussed. Sure enough, we have decisions, official decisions on all of them. So yes, advanced talks to become the boss, and good luck. We're all counting on you. So once again, the draft. 3 p.m. today, Major League Soccer, Atlanta United scheduled to pick 19. They have 4 picks between 19 and 77. So we also have other news. We get gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's go through that and what to watch and where to watch it before Kaylor Hodges in the USL show. Folks, join us in 5 minutes. So, gossip, rumor, and innuendo outside of the sacking of Steve Cooper, which has been updated by us. Let's see. So, Manchester United, Fulham, West Ham, AC Milan had scouts at Allianz to watch Stuttgart's Serhou Girassi. Nobody scored from his team. They lost to Bayern 3-0. Manchester United football director John Murtaugh was in Saudi Arabia for transfer talks this month with the club willing to sell Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane, Anthony Martial, and Casemiro. 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Varane is hopeful Manchester United will trigger the one-year extension in his contract. Barcelona ready to listen to offers for Rafinha, with Manchester United considering proposing a swap deal involving him and Jadon Sancho. Dan Ashworth, the sporting director at Newcastle, is the Ineos Group's prime choice to assume the role at Manchester United, although they remain open to retaining Murtaugh. Spurs have held talks over a potential move for Nice center back Jean-Claire Todibo. Wolves poised to report financial losses of £65 million. To keep an eye on FFP with them now. But we'll target up to 2 new signings in the January window. Victoria Pilsen forward Rafiu Durosinmi remains a £7 million target, although Eintracht Frankfurt also wants the Nigerian. Fulham weighing up a January bid for Montpellier forward Akor Adams. Barcelona could terminate Clement Lenglet's Villa loan in the January window, then try to sell him. AC Milan is interested. Chelsea prepared to sell Ian Matson in the January window. City, West Ham, Dortmund, Napoli, Roma interested. Chelsea have no intention of letting Noni Madueke leave on loan in January. Ornstein. Arsenal and Aaron Ramsdale have been linked with Chelsea, but the Blues unlikely to sign another stopper in January, despite Spain's Robert Sanchez facing a spell on the sidelines with an injury. Juve have opened talks with Manchester City about signing Calvin Phillips. Bayern Munich's Thomas Müller close to signing a new deal. That was official this morning. Bayern Munich have called off a January move for Barcelona defender Ronald Araujo, but could reassess signing the 24-year-old Uruguayan national next summer. PSG's Kylian Mbappe and bosses Luis Enrique's relationship has deteriorated, according to AS. Barcelona president Joan Laporta says the club will target a lone midfielder in January in a deal similar to one that brought Edgar Davids to the club in 2004. Toni Kroos considering coming out of international retirement to play for Germany at the Euros. Paulo Javier has left his role as Real Madrid's Latin America scout to join Arsenal and will work in South America with 2 other scouts. That's gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And turning all of the stoplights early. Everybody this morning. Everybody's hitting the stoplights early. So once again, we will wasting no time. Kaylor Hodges.
Hey.
What's it like to actually not have to be in a closet and shooing away folks from segments?
It's a lot less stressful. Especially considering the fact I don't have to put up a sign that says I'm busy, and even better, none of them, even if I did, if someone were to walk in here, I'm sure they could read it this time because none of them cared. And that's fine.
It's hey, I mean, but it makes for a great program on both the audio and the video side because of it being live and finding out what's going on live. Bunch of different reasons that I wanted to bring you in this morning. We had Darin Van Tassel batting ahead of you this morning. First thing,
I don't know how I'm going to follow him up. By the way,
yeah,
he is one of the best interviews you can get, and I'm not that.
But you and you and Morrissey and everybody there at the USL show. I mean, Darin gave you high praise, man, about what you guys have been able to develop over time.
Yeah, we love the connection we have with Tormenta. Right now, we have one of our USL show kits on the way. It's en route right now to them because we were selling our fundraiser kits for the Carter Payne Foundation,
right,
for the player that had passed away, and ours for them finally came in, so it's officially being sent over there. So we've loved our connection with them.
No doubt, class acts across the board, and a couple different, obviously, main topics to get into. It is schedule release, it's USL Championship, and I guess what we'll do is start things off with what happened yesterday, and it was kind of a cause and effect kind of a deal where you had the schedule for USL Championship on hold while they were waiting for a decision on RGV. Rio Grande Valley, as the schedule is released yesterday afternoon, announces that they are ceasing operations after 8 years. Schedule comes out. Memphis is the club that moves from the east to the west and not Tulsa, which is what I had anticipated just because of the sake of geography.
I think Tulsa did also move over.
And so, I mean, it's, it was weird. It was a whole lot of stuff. Did I miss Tulsa? Am I an idiot?
I think Tulsa moved over.
Okay, so hang on. So
because we lost 2 West teams in San Diego and RGV.
San Diego, that's true. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. Yeah, Tulsa did move over. Okay, I'm an idiot. So Tulsa moves over, and Memphis moves over to the west, and so now you're 12-12. And I had forgotten the variant with San Diego. Thank you for the reminder of that. Rhode Island is in. North Carolina is up. That was the one that I missed. So North Carolina, as a part of ProRail, they move up. Rhode Island moves in. Tulsa moves over. Memphis moves over. So that's how it is now in 2024. It is 12-12 in the conference alignment. But I guess let's start with RGV and your thoughts about RGV leaving after 8 years.
Honestly, I'm heartbroken for the fans. RGV fans have been some of the best to us. Also, die hard. The people who are RGV fans, they are die hard fans. It's a place that a lot of other fans never wanted to go because they always seem to have the voodoo magic. When you go to the HEB, it's a nightmare to play in. It's such a wide area. There's voodoo magic. We would often just say RGV's at home playing a good team. The good team's going to lose. Why? We don't know. That's just how it works. But I can't help just feel frustration and borderline anger out of RGV. Because they waited to make this announcement on a pure news dump. They wanted to be hidden by the fact that everybody else had schedule announcements. And they put their social media comms person under stress because they were having to field calls, get messages on, every platform of, are we alive? Are we dead? And they just had to sit there and take it. And then on top of that, and you saw something from the USLPA, those players, even though everyone knew they were dead, everyone knew it was the worst kept secret ever. It's been known for a long time. Those players who were on contract could not find a club in the first month of free agency because they were still under contract to a club that was still alive. So these players have lost a month of their livelihood and possible future plans. And when you're thinking about the safety of players, and safety of players is not just physical, it's not just mental, it's also straight up financial. They need jobs. This is a dream job that people have, and they need jobs. And they kept them from doing that. And it just felt very cowardly how it happened. And the fact that they hid for so long, forcing other people to take the front and just kind of crawled away in the middle of a news dump. I cannot stand it. And it also comes down to the fact that a lot of fans from down there and also people from there, Mikey Lopez, who's with Legion now, is from the Edinburgh area. Like, I think he was born there, I'm pretty sure. He's talked about how the ownership did not try to make a connection with the community. They didn't care. And it felt like they were just kind of riding some coattails, and they just thought it will work. It will work here because we're near the border and we play soccer. And they never made the effort to connect with their community. And then they slinked away in the dead of the night in a news dump. And it rubs me completely the wrong way.
So when we think about the legacy of RGV outside of the last 24 hours, what would you say the legacy of the Toros are as a part of the USL Championship footprint?
They've had some of the most fun moments, really. They always manage to find themselves in the playoff after being not very good. And I know that sounds very backhanded, but they most of the time they are the last seed getting into the playoff or the second to last seed getting into the playoff, and then they beat someone. One of the most iconic moments for me personally in watching the USL Championship was watching Roro Lopez. And I think it was Devin Kerr. All respect to Devin and Mike. I love them with my whole heart. But as he is standing over this free kick, I think against Phoenix, they're talking about how he's over the hill, he's washed, he's too old to compete, bangs in a free kick to win the game as they are saying that. And it's one of the most iconic moments I can really remember. And those fans, when they were there, that's the one thing that sticks with me is those fans were passionate. And I know some people will say, well, they were so passionate. Why didn't they come out? Forget about the ones who didn't come. Look at the ones who did. They were as passionate as they come. And I think that is the legacy, is that it was a fantastic place to see a game, beautiful facility. And it's also a bit of a legacy of what could have been. If they had truly connected with that community, it could have been one of the most special places, I think, in U.S. soccer.
Harry Austin dropping by, as he always does. Legacy for RGV being the first hybrid team Houston Dynamo RGV, which I think also helps pave the way for MLS Next Pro. Could that be a market where if someone wants to take the dive, they could be a part of MLS Next Pro because of the facility that's there in Edinburgh, because of what you've said that facility is when it comes to quality and housing and everything, a franchise? Could you see someone invest in a franchise and have them be a part of MLS Next Pro?
If it wasn't for the fact that the facility was just sold just recently, because that was the announcement that everybody knew that this is officially done, is that when that facility was sold. I think being a sublease, basically leasing out the stadium from another place, might deter somebody. But it also wouldn't shock me if Houston goes back in. There's a reason they put a stadium and a team there to begin with.
Yep.
And I know that they have Houston too now, but if they want to branch out and just say, hey, be your own team in your own place, that wouldn't shock me in the slightest.
Yeah, Dynamo Dose is part of MLS Next Pro. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to have them play at Hell in a Shell, or if they do have them do a bit of a barnstorm, and they will, kind of work their way around a little bit, maybe play in Edinburgh a little bit, but we'll see. Schedules are out.
Yep.
And there's been instant analysis of the schedule where you've got to be in place for these 15 games to circle in the championship. And it starts off, obviously, March 9 with the newly promoted North Carolina FC back in the championship taking on Charleston. When it comes to the season in general with this group of 24, what is intriguing you about the next couple of months and getting ready for March the 9th?
Honestly, I'm just so excited. And this is not even a schedule situation necessarily. I don't see, barring Las Vegas, bad matchups. There are just no bad matchups. I've gone through and I've looked through some of these, and because part of what we do on the USL show is that we go and circle certain matches that we want to predict and what we want to talk about. And I'm already looking through these, and I understand it's preseason. We're excited about everybody. But I'm looking through week after week after week. All 34 weeks have multiple amazing games. And with less teams, as heartbreaking as that is, it also means that it feels like it's going to be more competitive. And it's very exciting. Now, the 15 games that were kind of circled, you talked about starting off with newly promoted North Carolina. Those are fun. You also have I forget all the letters, but the longest rivalry ever in sports, Lou City versus Indy.
Yeah, LIPA FC, the Louisville Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest, I think.
I think that's it. There's a lot of letters that
I remembered LIPA FC, and I was trying to process it as I was
Yeah, it's that one's fun, and the fact that we're getting that one so early. That said, we don't know what Indy is. I mean, obviously Birmingham, Memphis, the big rivalry between the two is being broken up because of West and East.
Yeah.
So this puts a lot of weight in one place. Also think that biasly, one of the most interesting matchups comes August 31st of Rhode Island versus Birmingham,
Yeah.
where Cano Smith takes on his former club.
Yep.
And I think that one's just so interesting, especially with what Rhode Island are building.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever been so impressed by a single offseason ever.
Really?
Going from nothing to having, I need a deep dive on all the rosters, but looking at what they have on their base, looks like a surefire playoff team coming from nothing is incredible. Just the signings that they've made. I mean, even if Kano is only a halfway good coach, which spending time with him, he's a lot better than that. That team's making the playoffs, and coming from nothing to that is incredible.
Yep. I mean, you're seeing, I think, what Prince Saidi was a recent pickup. You ended up Mark Ibarra getting picked up recently. So there's a lot of names that you see cycling up through Rhode Island. Let's see. I'm trying to go and bust through the Mark Doyle from St. Patrick's Athletic. Prince Saidi's on the board. Grant Stoneman from San Diego Loyal is on the board. So
Coque Vegas. You also got Gabriel Alves.
Yep. Connor McMahon is in there too. So I mean, this is an interesting build, and obviously, you know, when you bring in Coque Vegas and you want to start to build things, you work through the spine, and that makes a lot of sense considering what Michael Parkhurst and Cano Smith are a part, you know, when it comes to their brain power. And then Kefsi has mentioned a name to Hartford, and Hartford's been making some interesting acquisitions. Anderson,
I love what Hartford's doing this year. Hartford and Anderson Asidou moving up had a bit of a falling out in Birmingham, but he's landed on his feet in the Northeast, which I think is great for him. It's closer to where his family lives up in the New England area. A lot easier for his family to travel to see him. He's closer to home. I'm really happy with where he's ended up in that situation. With what Hartford is doing this offseason, last year they went with this idea of we'll score more goals than you. We don't need a defense. Like we don't need defenses where we're going kind of situation. And don't get me wrong, Hartford matches were some of the most fun matches because goals. This year they have built up just an incredible defense, what it looks like a basis of a defense, with a fun little signing coming out later today, making way from Tulsa, with some nice attacking talent on the way. I'm excited for what Hartford's doing. It feels like they're kind of balancing out what they kind of been doing wrong the last 2 years, which is goals are fun and people want to see goals, but no one actually likes to watch losing either, which I feel like they lost that along the way.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's that. But a team that's also on that last year Hartford train, I'm worried, and this is not just rival. I'm really worried about Memphis.
Yeah.
They have goal scorers galore. They have amazing players, but that back line, specifically center back pairing and goalkeeper, they need to sort that fast because it is some of the worst in the championship. It is dreadful. And also losing an Aaron Malloy over to Charleston, who was a center defensive mid who could be a center back, who could also basically run everything that he would want, that you could want offensively. Losing that plus your best defenders, I am so worried that Memphis is about to be the next, like, we scored 4 goals and lost by a goal team.
Okay, so we got time to work through this. Anthony Leanhart with a question. Thoughts on Cameron Lancaster's retirement?
Coming. It's been coming. It's been a sad downfall. It's not even been a downfall necessarily, because when he played, he did his thing, but it was very obvious last year, especially, and really 2 years ago too, that he wasn't the guy in Louisville anymore. And I know he needs to stay healthy, but Wilson Harris, what was the clear number one, striker.
Yeah.
And Cameron wasn't a liability. That's not what I mean. But the same kind of creator can make something out of nothing just felt like it was gone. He was just more of a target man, floated up to him, he'll score a goal, and it worked. But for this Lou City side, him making chances out of nothing, those days were kind of gone. And I'm glad he ended up with Lou City the whole time. It was nice. I kind of wish that he would have made the announcement sooner so he could have gotten a goodbye at Lynn family. I think that would have been amazing, but no, it's sad, but I think the writing was on the wall for a couple years now.
But what is it we always say, that there are two members of the family that are undefeated, and it's Mother Nature and Father Time? And Charleston has been hyped up this morning by a bunch of different folks. Del Schaefer saying that the Battery had the best offseason. It's been all backline almost for Charleston in the offseason. Josh Drack, Graham Smith, re-signing Leland Archer, and you mentioned Aaron Malloy. So Ben Pierman is not resting on anything.
No, I have loved their offseason so far. They are building on just an absolutely amazing base that they already have. You're kind of looking for a number 9 because I don't think technically Augie Williams has re-signed, but I think they're in contract negotiations. I'm sure that's to come soon. But really, you're looking for a right back, which could be Mark Segbers, which not official yet. But I mean, you have Barajas, you have Markanich, you have Rodriguez, you have Yakaza, you have Aaron Malloy, you have Drac, you have Palma, you have Smith, you have Muse. They have a great base that I'm really believing in. And I mean, the addition of Aaron Malloy that's a game changer. They were really one defensive moment away from being champions this year. Aaron Malloy fixes that.
Has there been anybody that has disappointed you with we've mentioned Memphis front loading a lot of stuff, bringing in a lot of offensive firepower. Who has concerned you by not doing anything?
It's not even by not doing anything. It's the lack of what they're not doing.
Yeah.
And that's Indy 11. They don't have a coach.
That's problematic.
They're making signings without a coach, which is the riskiest thing you could do ever. And Hartford was kind of doing that this year, but also Hartford kind of knew who their coach was going to be for a long time, to be honest. So that one I'm not too worried about, but Indy has a full 11, or pretty much a full 11.
I see what you did.
Yeah. With making signings without a coach. And so who knows if the coach is going to like the players on the team? Who knows if the coach wants to move in a completely different direction? They're going to be running basically a Lowry roster without Lowry, and we've seen how that's worked in the past with El Paso. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in Indy. I'm not excited for what it's going to be.
Okay. What do you think? We've talked about Rhode Island. What do you think about North Carolina drifting up as another one of the new teams this year? What are you anticipating from them? As we've seen some investment, they brought in a couple of players. I think Ja'Cory Hayes was mentioned a couple of days ago, being brought in under the umbrella. But what have you seen from North Carolina FC?
I'm just going to run through the names of people they've signed. Okay. Rodrigo da Costa, Paco Craig, Evan Conway, Justin Malu, Colin Martin, Jake McGuire, bringing him back, Ezra Armstrong, Ja'Cory Hayes, and Shaft Brewer. They are bringing in some of the best talents from the championship and some of the best talents from League One on top of a really good League One roster where they're maybe missing Tor Saunders and Nick Holiday out of the back line or out of that goalkeeping room. And one of them is going to come back. I'm very certain of that. This is a fantastic base. They have an incredible team on paper. they continue to make great signings after great signings, and seeing how they left from the championship with not a bang but a whimper, seeing them formally invest and say we're going for this, it's fun. This is going to be a really fun team. DaCosta up top with Anderson is it's a very interesting combination. I'd be excited to see how it works. And this is all pushing a guy like Garrett McLaughlin onto the bench. If Garrett McLaughlin is your bench player, you're having a fantastic season.
Anthony back in wants to know, but thoughts on the newly revamped Lou City Riverhounds?
I think it was Steel Army that posted this. Maybe it was the Mongols, but they basically said, imagine being, or if you're a new Pittsburgh fan and you're not used to the Pittsburgh ride, which is
you're not used to Bob Lilly yelling at people.
No, if you're not used to, we had a great season. Let's tear it all apart. Welcome to the experience. Lou City, Legion, and other teams are basically Tampa Bay are all of hey, welcome to Lily Ball. We move them out. Yeah. I'm happy with what Lou City has done. I was getting a little bit worried about their offseason, and I know it's so early, but bringing in the guys that they have, really shoring up that back line a little bit more with bringing in Arturo Ordonez. I think that helps a lot. I think that really shows that they're going back to this back three, back five formation where they were really good in the past, and I think that they are making solid steps going forward.
Kaylor Hodges at Kaylor Hodges on the 280 character app, at the USL show on the 280 character app. Man, I made a mess tearing up that piece of paper. Now I know how Pittsburgh feels piecing things together with rosters and such. Also on the seat. Now I'm gonna have to pick up after my own mess and all this kind of stuff. I can't wait.
Proud of you.
Yeah. Rob Krause. Charleston is Memphis 2.0.
True. True. It's Memphis is becoming a sad story. That said, Jay Mims is alive. We learned this. Jay Mims is alive, and he is taking over the footballing operations, which, thank God. Jay Mims goes from being I thought the hottest coaching prospect out there, to going to Memphis, which, if I'm not incorrect, I think his family's from Memphis. He has family in Memphis. So him kind of getting to go home or seeing some friends, seeing family again, it's a great move. But Charleston is showing what Memphis could have had if they chose to invest. Memphis felt like they were always doing things on the cheap, always doing things on the never, basically. Like they get one piece and never built around it. Charleston is just such a look what you could have had. And honestly, having talked to Ben Pierman a few times now, lovely guy, wonderful human. I just know that it makes him just a little bit happy just to be like, I could have done this there, and I'm doing it here with the people that you let me have. Like, look what investment can do. And I'm loving it.
Also on the board, there was oh wow, look at this. People are Michael Valverde, one of our listener watchers from Charlotte, says, would you say North Carolina FC is ready to compete at this next level?
100%. Absolutely. And this is where I need to be careful, because I've fallen in love with a lot of teams off seasons so far. We've had a lot of really, really good off season stuff so far this year. And a lot of teams are getting better. A lot of that comes from, unfortunately, teams kind of dying, passing away. Those quality players are up for grabs, but there aren't many teams that say they've had a negative offseason. I thought North Carolina, if they maintained the same roster, was going to be competitive, maybe not a playoff team. They have improved this roster immensely. I think that they are going to be insanely competitive. I don't know about a top 4, but they are going to be playoff contenders.
Del Schaefer thinks that Charlotte's negotiating with Augie and Dodson / Segbers. And he also says Memphis has got to be pissed. They've lost so many players to Charleston. So
Yeah.
So are the Battery 901 East? Is that what we were phrasing this as here?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, AutoZone Park is Patriots Point West, or something like something. I don't know.
What about the teams that made the deep runs? Phoenix, obviously, with what they were able to do. Sacramento had a fantastic season that ended before they wished their season ended. What about the big guns out west and big guns in general that didn't quite make it to the last game of the year? What have you seen?
Phoenix, JP Sears is an amazing signing for them. Them getting Derek Formella back is awesome. I think it was announced, maybe not. I'm gonna need to double check that. But basically, if it
soon to possibly maybe being announced.
Yeah, basically big player for Phoenix coming in. I'm gonna check right now because I've really liked Phoenix's offseason, but I want to make sure that was actually announced and I'm not going to do something before I'm supposed to.
Jet says Phoenix is keeping some signings under wraps.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, okay. Juan Asakar did sign officially. Juan Asakar, he's a big pickup for them.
Mm-hmm.
I am very happy with that signing for Juan Asakar, who's been on loan forever, and now he's finally on a free, and him rejoining with Juan Guerra. It's a great signing. As for Sacramento, I've really enjoyed what Sacramento's done, bringing in Trevor Amon, who is really good.
Yes.
And he's going to get so much just service.
Jack Gerda, Trevor, Jack and Trevor, baby.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. Jared Mazzola is a really interesting one. Vitiello is not old, but this definitely looks like Mazzola is going to be the number 2, maybe a future number 1. And Jonathan Ricketts from RGV is going to be really, really fun. Another team that we kind of didn't talk about, a team that I'm a little bit worried about, I suppose.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Okay.
They've lost players, and this looks like another early season of not signing a lot immediately, which last year was almost a detriment. And it was a detriment because the way that system works, it runs players into the ground. And they early on this offseason have not replenished, and I'm worried.
Okay. Knowing that this is December and we still have 1, 2, 3 months before the season starts, we're going to go ahead and put some things in pencil. Del Schaefer wants preseason picks for league winner. We'll do this one at a time. Del wants preseason pick for league winner. I'll go Sacramento.
Are we saying the player shield, supporter shield, or are we saying like USL Cup?
USL, like the end of it all, the end of the season, last game of the year, kind of last game of the year, league winner.
Okay. I'm going to say Sacramento for the players shield, basically. I think that they are going to be the most consistent throughout the year. I don't see as many ebbs and flows. I think for Cup, I wouldn't be shocked if Phoenix and Charleston do it again.
Okay.
I know that's 3 teams, but like I think that when it comes to consistency, I think Sacramento would be my choice. But if you're talking about playoff run, it's hard not to look at Phoenix and Charleston and say, why can't they do it again?
Dark horse, North Carolina FC.
I'm looking over teams right now for dark horse champions.
Is there really a dark horse though?
That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And I think my dark horse, I'm looking at Rhode Island.
Ooh,
loving what they're doing.
You and Dell both go Rhode Island here. Okay.
I'm also looking at Pittsburgh because I understand that Pittsburgh.
Are they a dark horse though?
No, but yes.
Okay.
Like that you're going to look at the roster and say, surely Lily can't do it again. And then at the end of the season, we're going to be saying he can't keep getting away with this.
And he'll just keep yelling at us.
Yeah, well, he'll be yelling at me the entire time while I'm saying you can't get away with this, but whatever, shouting matches.
He's still yelling anyway. He's still yelling from last season. He's just
I
yelling.
don't doubt it.
So yeah, and Dell says Pitt can't be a dark horse with Lily. All right, Golden Boot.
Yeah. This one's hard because I don't know where everybody's landing.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked by an Armin for Sacramento. The only thing that worries me about him is I think he's going to be splitting goals with Cicerone.
Got it.
So that's a bit of a worry. That's my first instinctual thought, though, because we don't know where all the other people for like Pittsburgh are going to be landing quite yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think I'm going to go Armin, but that one might end up getting split. Yeah. Ooh,
I'll go. Okay.
Oh, see, Trevor. Trejo's an interesting one, but we don't know where he is yet. I also wouldn't be shocked by an Armenakis.
Okay.
Armenakis for Phoenix. I think that. I'm going Armenakis. Final, lock it in. Armenakis going to do it.
Okay. I will go Kyle Murphy, Memphis 901.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked by that, seeing Kyle Murphy get back to form. He's going to get a lot of service. He's going to be the undisputed number 9. He played well in Memphis. I wouldn't be shocked by that in the slightest. The thing that worries me with him is going to be, I know this sounds ridiculous, but we talked about the defense. Eventually, if they don't make any signings, if we're talking about right now, I think it's going to be a shootout either way.
Right.
Conceding goals hurts the morale and teams fall off. Like our players kind of fall off if they're not in a good mood, basically. So that worries me a little bit for the Memphis side, but come March, they're probably going to have some pretty good center backs, and none of this matters at all. But as of December 19th, yeah, that worries me about Kyle.
That's why we're putting all this in pencil. Caps,
Sure.
people in Tennessee are pulling up stakes to move to North Carolina. I choose to believe they all just heard, to South Carolina. I choose to believe they all just heard the merits of the Atlantic Coast from Philip Goodrum. Robert Rankin, Lucho for Golden Boot.
That Lucho back to San Antonio was really interesting for heel turn going.
Oh, absolutely.
That one's really fun. I don't know about Golden Boot because I don't know where the service is coming from quite yet for San Antonio. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not certain yet.
Yeah, well, and for me, the main reason I picked Murphy was because of what you were discussing with Memphis 901. If everything's going to be 5-4, somebody's got to score.
True.
Very
true.
All right. So, what is the Christmas holiday going to be like for the newlywed and the boss, sir?
Lots of traveling, a whole lot of traveling. So we're making way to the ATL for Christmas. So that ought to be some fun there, and then going on a little trip for New Year's. That New Year's weekend. We've never spent Christmas or New Year's together as a couple at all. So we're like, hey, let's do something that's actually nice for ourselves.
Wow. Good deal.
Yeah.
So please do it from an undisclosed location. What's next for at the USL show?
Lots of stuff. We have a show tonight to talk about League Cup, the US Open Cup situation stuff, RGV, all the things pretty much. Still in progress with getting some new shows out there, but we're making some good progress there, and just lots of fun goodness. Lots of taking a break from what was a crazy crazy year.
There's no such thing as taking a break, sir, because as you well know, the schedule never stops and news never stops.
No, the news does not stop. Just when we think It never does.
At Kaler Hodges at the USL show on the 280 character app. Dell with one final question, and thank you for the love, Dell. Is Taylor getting a haircut over the holidays?
We're not doing this again. You and Nicholas Murray can stay far away from me.
See, but that's the thing. If Kaler wants to do with as he sees fit with the main, that's up to Kaler now.
That's true.
Besides, it's a holiday season, and it's up to Kaler as to what he wants to do. Be safe and well, my friend, and obviously we'll catch up with you after the turn of the calendar, and we'll get rolling through, and we'll just go ahead and lock it in that once the season is getting close to us in March, that you're coming back for your Thursday visits. Was it Thursdays?
Thursday sounds right.
Okay, so Thursday visits. So yeah, just know a couple of months out that you're going to be back. You and the gang are going to be back on Thursdays to talk about everything USL.
Hey, works for us.
All right, Kaler, thanks again. Have a safe holiday, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. See you.
All right, that's Kaler, and Kaler does at the USL show, and he's at Kaler Hodges, by the way, if you hadn't figured it out, on the 280 character app. Once again, thanks to Kaler for dropping by for a half hour. Thanks to Darin Van Tassell, capital V in Van Tassell, by the way, because I've been staring at it in my phone with a lowercase v forever. And so, of course, I'm sitting here going, yeah, the lowercase v. No, it's an uppercase v. So good work by me. All right, I got to fix that in my phone. Once again, the big news of the day, the Revs have signed Caleb Porter as their head coach. It looks like Nottingham Forest has sacked Steve Cooper, and it looks like the 1-8 favorite Nuno Espirito Santo is working his way in to be the head coach. Remember, you have the Super Draft today at 3:00, and that will be looking at 388 athletes. Atlanta has 4 picks between 19 and 77, and so we'll keep an eye on that this afternoon as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Once again, later today, it's an interview with Bev Yanez. We'll find out what's going on at Racing Louisville. That will be up on the network later this afternoon. Then tomorrow, hopefully, Dylan Butler, one of the busiest men in show business, can join us for his pre-Christmas visit at 10 o'clock. And Thursday would be a Thursdays with Nico at 10:30, 9:30, Friday morning normal, hopefully with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. We can catch up with them before they jet for Christmas. But no, big thanks to Darin Van Tassell today to break things down from an ownership perspective when it comes to South Georgia Tormenta. And there's a boatload of things going on at South Georgia Tormenta these days. So it was great to catch up with him on a bunch of different levels, got the Open Cup response, and find out what's going on in Statesboro. So we'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning, and we'll discuss everything on the table. Coaching hirings, firings, news, notes, Dylan, everything. But no, thanks to Kaler, thanks to the USL show, thanks to Darin Van Tassell, thanks to Jarrett when Joey Saputo wasn't jamming his phone signal, and thanks to you as always. So that is another round of soccer down here. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. That's about all I know. Just be safe, everybody, and may your shopping be what it is. If you're done, congratulations. If you're not, then may Amazon be your best friend, or may overnight shipping help you out as well. Dell, as always, thanks for dropping by and being a part of things. So we're here back again 9:05 tomorrow morning on the Twitch, on the 280 character app, and on the YouTube. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for hanging out with us. Back again 9:05 tomorrow morning. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. We'll be back tomorrow.